On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, young Nick returns to the Falcon after a bout of COVID to talk all things sucky about 2022. After Depression Fest, the two will get into the Andor series and how it will explore the character of Mon Mothma and the formation of the Rebel Alliance. They'll then address a new rumor about Darth Vader appearing in the Ahsoka series and another one on a potential second season of the Book of Boba Fett. From there, they'll move on to a Star Wars game delay and a rad photo book that recreated the original trilogy using Kenner action figures from the 70s and 80s. Of course, the show will end with the question of the week responses and the latest round of top 5 Star Wars fan artist features. Punch it, Chewie.
Hey now, everybody! I gotta do triple energy today because, as you can see if you're on the live stream, young Nick is back! But he still feels like shit, so I'm gonna be shouldering the load for him, at least on the enthusiasm front, but he is here. We had the cattle prod his ass to get into a seat, but he is up and ready to try this thing called the Star Wars Time Show. So first and foremost, welcome back, my friend. There was a time last week where I honestly thought you were dead because, we chatted a bit on Monday. I'm like, hey, man, how you feeling? He's like, the show's all you, dude. I'm still feeling half dead. My brain is a gas tank that runs out after 15 minutes of focus. And you're like, oh, I'll get the top 5. I'm like, cool, whatever. Wake up Tuesday.
And I just completely forgot.
I was like, oh shit.
I literally
top 5 was gone. I was like, I get it. He was hit hard with COVID. But then I think it was after the show or Wednesday. I'm like, hey man, are you all right? And then crickets for days until Saturday. I honestly threw up, kind of the smoke signals again. It's like, Nick, are you alive? And then he's like, yeah, I'm alive. I'm feeling a little bit better, still testing positive. But it was a little touch and go last week. I almost, did the humanly thing and actually was going to reach out to Nick on a phone call instead of Slack and other social media apps, just to ensure the young buck was not checked into a hospital. Because as you explained it to me, unlike my case, which still sucked, You seemingly got hit with the full force of COVID and probably would have been in the hospital if it weren't for the force and, of course, your boosters and science and all that, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not been a fun time. I tested yesterday. I'm still positive. It's been 12 days of me testing positive for COVID, which has not been great. Definitely the first week was like the worst in terms of the intensity of the symptoms. But even as time's gone on, like the symptoms are just lingering. They're not as intense, which is good. But it's not fun to constantly have, nasal congestion or a sore throat or just unending brain fog when you're trying to just do normal things in life, or like taking my dog for a walk and then getting winded. It's not fun, and it's still kind of persisting even until up till today. And that's why I told Matt before we went live, I was like, you're gonna have the energy of the show because I'm here in basically body only.
He's like a force ghost right now. You know what? Yeah. He's Qui-Gon Jinn. He's just gonna hang out, say nothing, do nothing till the end, and then he's gonna say, "Hey, what took you so long?" So it's all right. We're gonna get through it. We're not gonna make Nick work too hard today because I kind of got the feeling yesterday. I was like, "Hey, you thinking about doing the show?" He's like, "Yeah, I guess." I was like, "All right." Well, he ain't out of it yet, so we'll see what he can do. But he is here. So we'll try to get through some of our topics and give you some sort of informative and maybe at times entertaining show here for episode 222. 2. Wasn't that a sitcom back in the 80s, by the way? 222. It's like
I'm
like
not
black
sure.
people in apartments or something, from what I can remember. I don't know. I could be making shit up, but yeah. I mean, if Nick freezes this week, we won't really know. So maybe he could just actually just stay frozen.
Yeah, I'll just if I freeze, it'll take me a little bit longer to reopen. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I don't know.
We got some stuff to talk about today. We got some Andor insights that I think I'm excited for. I mean, I'm always down for getting into character development and diving deeper into a time period in Star Wars, and that sounds like what Andor Season 1 is going to give us. So we're going to talk about that. We've got some Darth Vader and live action series update action. We've got we're going to share off a really rad piece of content creation from a member of the community here. And you never know where else the Star Wars Time Show will go. If you're a long-time listener, you know we're a bunch of jerk-offs that kind of go all over the place with some guided subjects to at least have some form and shape to the program. But one thing I want to get into before we get into our Star Wars stuff, Nick, is the Steam Deck real quickly, because this is something last year you were kind of like laughing at me for ordering because I'm a jerk off that just instantly buys everything and anything that is new that I think could cause FOMO in the future. And lo and behold, a year later, after I placed my, well, really, what do you say? You just say, hey, Valve, here's my $5 for the honor to buy one when you let me buy one, correct? And that's kind of how it's going right now. But it showed up like 2 weeks ago, and I have to tell you, dude, it's pretty fucking rad, even for a non-PC gamer. But for someone like you, I know you've now said that you're going to dabble on one. You've at least put in your pre-order. I think this thing is going to be a huge increase in your entertainment factor when you get it, because how big's your Steam library? Do you know off the top of your head?
I mean, it's probably close to 200 games, but like realistically, like I have those 200 games because they were $4 on a Steam sale, and sales, like realistically, I'm not going to play even 75% of those.
Right.
Like,
and half of them probably still don't work for the Steam Deck. That's kind of what I've been doing the past 2 weeks, is figuring out what out of the 100+ games in my catalog will actually run on the damn thing. And, you know, some are literally, you look in the library and it's just an X, or that, you know, the old no smoking sign. Don't even try it. Others, it's just a question mark, basically like, hey, go ahead. It may or may not work and break your system. But even beyond that, I think probably the coolest thing for me, someone who's more of a console gamer, and I believe you still sub to Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah, I got 2 years of that when I got the system. Yeah,
so check this out. There's an official workaround from Microsoft to add Game Pass to your Steam library that will open up Xbox Game Pass in the cloud on the Steam Deck, to where you can stream modern titles. I'm talking Halo Infinite, Halo the Master Chief Collection, the Mass Effect Super Duper Upgrade Trilogy, anything in Xbox Games Pass that is a cloud designated title will run on the Steam Deck through streaming, and the performance is fucking tits. I mean, I'm doing it in my house on a pretty decent Wi-Fi connection, but it's damn near flawless streaming, say, a game like Halo Infinite on this little portable. Looks great, frame rate holds up. Controls
that might be the only way
decent.
that I'll actually like finish that game. Because
now you can take it on the go and
console,
and fall, turn it off after 15 minutes of getting bored, because it just fits in your backpack or something.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I've played on my Xbox recently has been the Ninja Turtles, the new Ninja Turtles game that just came out. Shredder's Revenge.
Dude. I played it with my little one and some of her friends. Yeah. I mean, you're talking like a 41, about to be 42-year-old guy out on his deck, broken leg and all, 4 controllers, like 1980s all over again, playing with his little kid running through TMNT, which is essentially, would you call it, it's like a homage to TMNT Arcade. It's very similar. Like a lot of the levels are the same, but you have a world map and you've got pickups and secret items that you can deliver to people. But I found it to be masterful.
Oh yeah. I saw an interview with the developer on XPlay, and that's what they said is like they really wanted to harken back to the old school arcade style games, the old NES, SNES, like Ninja Turtles titles, and I mean. It really it brought it right back for me. I mean, Turtles in Time, the game, like it feels like a spiritual successor to that game to the utmost. So like that's what I've been playing on my Xbox mostly at this point. So yeah, I mean, having that Game Pass little hack would be pretty cool.
You know what else I've started playing a lot, and I told you, and I can't believe how addicted to it I've become again, but Cyberpunk on the Xbox, now that it finally got its next gen patch a few months ago. I mean, I turned it off a year ago, waiting for the next gen patch. It never came. A year later, it finally came in, and I finally finished my years long replay of the 3 Mass Effect games. So I fired that up, and I forgot how addicting that game really is. I mean, now that it fully functions for the most part, I'm finding myself going through every goddamn thing I can do on the map in quadrants to clear everything. And I only do that for games that I enjoy. Really. So I guess I like this 2-year-old, once very buggy shit, vaunted gaming title of the 21st century. But it just had such a quagmire of press surrounding it because of all the issues that I don't know. I think a lot of people just kind of turn their head away from it. But oh well. So yeah, that's been fun. But yeah, man, if you ever get the honor to finally buy your Steam Deck, hopefully by then Microsoft just has an official Xbox Games Pass app for Steam. The hack's not very hard, but I would recommend doing it with a keyboard and mouse attached to your deck, because trying to type in some of the Linux commands on the virtual screen pad was a true test of my patience. And I think if I haven't been sidelined for these 6 weeks and have just had to learn to live a patient life for the first time in many years, I probably would have Luke Skywalkered its ass and threw it across the room and fucking smashed it, because I can't tell you how many times I had to re-enter like --colon @ you @ colon / Microsoft.com / Xbox Game. It's like, you fucking cunt! Quit moving the goddamn cursor around! That type of shit.
Once it comes around, because I think I messaged you like in the height of my haze last week, saying that I pre-ordered it, because I mean, I think like the thing for me that really pushed it over the edge was just like the reviews from people who had it, the reviews from those who had been playing it, and they all like, because my worry was, I was like, this is gonna be like the Steam box. Like the Steam box was a complete fucking shit show disaster, that like they put out this piece of hardware, it wasn't good, it was way too expensive. It didn't even have the level of access that the Steam Deck has. So I was like, they have already done this. Like, this is just a mobile version of what they did with the Steam box. But it seems like this is legitimately exciting to see that people like.
Did you go with the Big Daddy, the Granddaddy? I'm assuming.
Yeah,
go big or go
I did
home, the 512.
Yeah, I did the big one. I know that also has like a better screen, like an etched glass screen or something like that. That's supposed to be, keep an eye on your inbox around October, November, because they've ramped up production.
Maybe. Well, a lot of things. I mean, when I ordered it, COVID was still kind of a big thing, and we're all still feeling the not just getting sick from it, but pretty much most of the problems in the world with inflation and economies are because of COVID. I hope most people realize that. And, it's not because people got $600 checks 2 years ago. It fucking shut down the global economy. I mean, supply lines were devastated. It does sound like things are getting a bit better. Dude, we're having all sorts of issues with the stream today. We've got no data going through. I'm starting to wonder, like, am I even on the internet anymore?
If we aren't live,
yeah, we'll keep,
let us know in the chat.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's 100% YouTube.
Yeah. So, well, if you're watching,
usually on our end today, I think this is full on YouTube because everything is fenced with this. But knowing your fandom of the man, I think you're gonna have to go.
Well, like, I haven't seen much about it. I know that people are saying that they took too much of a comedic angle at it, but honestly, like, that may be the only thing that actually makes me want to see it. You know, like I get that, like, superheroes aren't supposed to be like this, haha, you know, like, funny, but like we've had a lot of the same types of and for me, like, the fact that it is more comedic, that it is more
slapsticky, it is. It looks like,
and I hope that doesn't affect the angle or the lens that the Star Wars people look at for his movie. Because, I mean, again, like, I'll say this, and I'll probably get hate for it because people don't like anything Star Wars that's different from when it was in 1977. But, like, we've never really had a Star Wars movie that took a true comedic angle at anything. And I think that something like that could be refreshing, because if you just look at critical reception and personal reception towards the films that have come out
on Andor and its first season, which is coming up August 31st, it already feels like we've been years without a Star Wars show to consume, but it's literally only been a few weeks, a month or so since Kenobi ended. But that's kind of how things go when Star Wars goes away and all we have is speculation and other things to dig into. But Andor's going to be here before you know it, a little over a month left to go. I do like the release date. It's not going to, hopefully by then I can do something with my leg. Still have it up here, peg leg style, foot going numb. But I'm not going to be at the beach anywhere. It's a nice August 31st. I dig it. But we got this update, Nick, from, I forget, I think, was this Empire or Verizon? Again, sorry, live streamers, don't worry. You can tune in tomorrow. You will hear everything. They sat down with Diego, Genevieve O'Reilly, who plays Mon Mothma, and I think I'm saying this person's name right, but Sane Wallenberg, who is the EP. And, we were talking about Andor death than anything else in that movie. You know what I mean? Like,
very true.
I had more of an attachment to the droid than the meat bags. And it sounds like Andor, especially for a character that's been around since Return of the Jedi, is going to dive into more of the character of a lot of these heroes that we saw sacrifice themselves in Rogue One. So first and foremost, Diego had some quotes here about the first season. And he said, even though it's called Andor, as he was pointing at himself with two of his thumbs, of people, it's about community. You'll have the chance to meet many characters you don't know and visit places you don't know existed in this galaxy. So my question to you, Nick, are we going the new planet, or do you think is this just some PR spin here? I mean, are we going to get a new planet that isn't a fucking desert? Are we going to see something a little bit different?
Wide type of approach. And I think that this show uniquely gives us an opportunity to see how
Pooh's blasting people left and right. And then, of course, his heroics at the end, first saving Din and then sacrificing himself to save everybody, while also showing Din that, hey, you know what? These damn robot things aren't so bad after all. So are you thinking we could get a lot of characters like that where they have staying power, but not so much in the series itself? They have staying power with fans, but they're not staying around for too long in the series.
Yeah, I mean, this show should be a show about sacrifice, not necessarily just in terms of life, like sacrifice of life, but also you have to show the sacrifice of the people who choose to step up to combat the growing evil of the Empire and the galaxy. And if you don't show that, I feel like this is about the formation of a rebellion that eventually overthrows the Empire. And one thing that I will say about Star Wars Rebels is while it was it was a beautiful show, and they didn't shy away from the sacrifice that was necessary to achieve the ultimate goal at the end of defeating the Empire, knowing that they're going to rip that character away from you shortly
We just
after.
recently experienced that with Tala, right? I mean, Tala is probably the prototypical Andor, how its eventual leader, Mon Mothma, kind of helped to stew it, foment it, if you will, but also trying to work together with the other cells to kind of fall under one umbrella of vision, which we know doesn't really work out for her in every Rebel cell, as we saw play out with Saw Gerrera in Star Wars Rebels. I mean, that's where we learn why the Rebel Alliance essentially has them outcasted by the time Rogue One comes around, because he went a little too extreme. Like he was getting into that jihad stuff. Wrote to push back the Empire, we're willing to sacrifice, where Mothma and the Alliance as a whole wasn't willing to kind of cross some of those lines. So character schmaracter, Andor schmaracter about. But the other thing I'm very excited about is something Genevieve O'Reilly teased. And she kind of mentioned, like, listen, the character of Mon Mothma has Mon Mothma, that type of shit. I'm the leader. We are wise. We can't do that. And that's it. She's the God King, the God Queen, whatever you want to say. Rebels, same thing. You don't really get much. You get a little bit more, but you don't get much. So here's what Genevieve is telling us, who's been playing this character since 2005, right? The idea of learning about this character, for me, as much as for anyone else, through a long-form narrative was really interesting. We have now the chance to get to know the woman. Previously, she was a bit of a pillar, or maybe a statue. I agree. I love that now we get to excavate that a little bit and learn about the human being, the woman behind the gown, if you will. So that too gets me kind of excited, and it falls right in line with experiencing the formation of the Rebel Alliance. Now we're actually going to get to see what this lady was thinking, who, without the fucking Skywalker twins, her Rebel Alliance would have failed, and she would have had egg on her face and probably got tortured by Palpatine and Vader. But luckily, she hooked up with the Skywalker twins, which was, her talisman or her genie lamp, whatever you want to call it. And they ended up kind of executing their vision and winning thanks to Manny Bothans. But now we're going to get to figure out, what was she thinking? How did she feel as a senator and a leader just watching the Republic get turned into an empire with a tyrannical leader where the Senate became a joke? I mean, we saw that one scene from the trailer where she's walking into the Senate and there's like 15 people there out of the thousands of systems that should be represented. So I'm all about this. I mean, I almost hope Mon Mothma has more screen time than Andor.
Yeah, no, I mean, for Mon Mothma has always been the character that we knew was interesting, but we never had any proof that she was interesting. I mean, you have to be an interesting character if you are the leader of the rebellion.
Exactly. How did she get all these people to follow her? That's hopefully what we're going to see. Exactly.
I mean, you already have interesting characters under her, like you mentioned. I mean, the fact that Princess Leia, that Leia Organa / Leia Skywalker was able to look at this woman and say, you are the person to lead this rebellion. You are the person that we need to bring us to a new galaxy. Says a lot about somebody. And then you had other characters. You had Bail Organa that falls under, and then everybody else who trusts this woman implicitly to lead them from a time of true darkness into a new life for the galaxy. So I can't imagine her just being some Cal Kestis milquetoast character that
Well, she is a ginger, Nick. So you never know. Yeah, they do share that quality.
Yeah. So, but I imagine that she has a level of magnetism that we probably haven't been able to see yet. And I'm excited for Genevieve to be able to
think then? Do you think we'll kind of see some of the goings on and the behind the scenes talks that kind of lead to propping her up? Or do you think through her actions and words in the galaxy that she just kind of naturally becomes the head of the Rebel Alliance? Because, why not Bail Organa? Why not eventually Leia when she is of age? I want to learn, why did Mon Mothma kind of become the default figurehead, the main leader, the president, if you will? Why? And I'm hoping that why is somewhat revealed in these 2 seasons of Andor. I mean, it does sound like we're going to get more of who Mon is, but I'd like to know overall. I mean, was it a vote? Was it just how she acted or what she said? Is she great with words, and is that her power to bring people in and band them together? I guess I want to learn, why does Mon Mothma become the supreme leader, if you will, of the Rebel Alliance by the time the OT kicks in? Because this show, honestly, its timeline is going to be shared more or less with the timeline of Star Wars Rebels, if I'm not mistaken. I believe Rebels was 4 to 5 years before Yavin and all that jazz, and leads right up to it. In fact, Rebels, one of the greatest Star Wars properties out there, if you can get over it being animated, shows a lot of this. But, they imply Mon's kind of already in charge. She's already on Yavin running the Massassi Temple. She is the one that is already kind of bringing the rebel cells together, which the Ghost Crew via Phoenix Squadron was. They were a cell. Like, when we start watching Rebels, the Alliance isn't a thing yet. Yeah. It's Phoenix Squadron. It's the Ghost Crew all doing their own shit. Saul's gang, Mon's gang. So what was this? Commander Sato's gang, where he was Phoenix Squadron. But, do you think we get something where it's a defined moment here? This is our leader. We follow her. Obviously in secret, but Mon Mothma's the gal. Fuck Saul, fuck Bail, it's Mon.
I don't know if we'll get a vote moment. I don't know if that'll happen, but I think what they may try to do is show you why she's the leader through her actions and through her character development and stuff like that. So it may not be as in your face or as express as okay, we're going to have a vote now to see who's going to be the leader of the rebellion. Everybody raise your hand who wants Mon Mothma. Everybody raise your hand who wants Saw Gerrera.
All right, did you get your vote in? Okay.
Yeah.
Pick it out of the hat.
I don't think
young Andor.
Yeah. So I think what'll likely be is that you'll be we'll find out through her actions, through her words, through her deeds, why she is the leader.
Yeah. Because if you think about it, and I know it's hard to do because George had stories in mind and then went back and did the prequels and kind of bunked some things up or threw some wrenches in the thing. But I mean, just on a pure mention level and the screen time level, Bail Organa, tomato, seemed like the most obvious choice to slide into the role of leader of a rebel movement, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, he was featured prominently in the prequels. He popped up again in Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's a damn near king on his own planet. And like I said, outside the cut scene, I don't even think you get any Mon Mothma anything in the prequels. So I don't know. I mean, I wonder. I wonder if they show that, right? Because I mean, Bail Organa is still going to be alive. So do they show him kind of no, you need to be the one because I've got the Skywalker kid and I can't have that type of heat on me if we got found out, stuff like that. I mean, there are reasons why I think Bail probably would turn it down, especially a big one being Princess Leia Organa.
I wonder if George has a regret about that. I wonder if George can now kind of take a look back at the prequels and say man, the missed opportunity here is actually building out Mon Mothma's character more. Because I feel like it would be really cheapened if she became the leader of the rebellion because Bail Organa was well, I just, I don't want to do it. Like, it's probably not best for me to do it, so you should do it. Like, I feel like that would be a really weak way for her to take that mantle. And I think that if they do it that way, it almost cheapens the character because then it becomes like, well, you were kind of the default fallback.
Right.
And, I really do hope that they actually take effort to prove to you through her character development and deeds why she's the leader, and not just because Bail Organa decided. Yeah,
I'm with
to
you.
take
And like, I'm not some sexist freak that thinks men should always be in the lead role. But from what we've been shown on screen, in cartoons, you name it, Bail always seems to be the most vocal voice from the political spectrum of Star Wars. And you are right. Like, if you go back and watch that deleted scene from Rots, I still don't know where he would have fitted in, but it probably should have been left in just to kind of tee her up for people that don't quite understand her importance. I mean, for people like us coming from the OT era, we knew who she was, even though she just shows up for a few minutes in Return of the Jedi. But it's made pretty clear, like, okay, this lady's very important to the Rebel Alliance. They all listen to her. She seems to be the one giving orders to even the fucking Skywalker twins, who are truly the reason the Rebel Alliance was successful. We can all say, Joe Schmo and Porkins, they helped too. No, they didn't do shit. I mean, it's Luke and Leia with some assists from Chewbacca and Han Solo, more or less, with Lando pitching in a little bit there at the end. But I like I said, right when we got into this topic, I don't want to say I've been cold on Andor. I've just been like, I'll definitely check it out. I'm excited. It's new Star Wars, but I have not been sitting around like I was for Kenobi, almost getting palpitations and Christmas morning excitement. I'm waiting, but I'm liking what I'm hearing. And, we make fun of Tony Gilroy, but he does do good work, at least in Star Wars. That's been proven via Rogue One in the hallway scene. But I like what I'm hearing from the cast at this point. Formative years of the rebellion. I can get behind that. I would love to see that type of shit in the random characters that are kind of pushing back against the Empire at this point in time. I really dig getting behind the mask, or the white gown, if you will, of Mon Mothma. And actually, as Nick said, kind of figuring out who she is, what makes her tick, and ultimately why she became the figurehead of the rebellion. And it does sound like Andor is going to deliver this. So I'm down, man. I do think Andor is going to be a sleeper. I think a lot of people may have kind of my approach to it, where they're excited. We're Star Wars fans. We're going to get pumped, but they may not have that that burning desire, like, I can't wait for the 31st, and they're crossing off days on their calendar, like 50 more days to go to Andor. But in the end, it could be one of the most informative Star Wars live action series we get, at least for that OT era. And they're going to sprinkle some shit in that probably extends into the Mandoverse timeline, because you just have to at this point in time. That's Disney's bread and butter. That is their own little timeline that they have fully created at this point in time. Yes, they've used a lot of George's creations in there at this point. They're now Dave's and the Mouse's. So August 31st, Andor. Let's see this rebellion form. Let's kind of, who's going to be the next Tala? Who's going to be the next K2SO? And it sounds like Andor is going to be delivering those to us. But I'm even excited to see who's going to be the next planet that isn't full of sand. You know what I mean? Like, let's go.
Yeah, just spice it up a little bit, guys.
Daiyu was cool. I mean, Daiyu was cool, but Jabim, we're right back to a dusty, brownish, craggy planet. I mean, Jabim was a few shades lighter than Navarro and a few shades darker than Tatooine, but that's about it. I think the other thing that is going to really go over well with a lot of people that might not like the look of the volume anymore is the fact that Andor, a lot of it was shot out in the world. Real life sets, no more volume. And it is funny how quick people have turned on the volume technology already. Because I can remember, in 2019 when the Mando came out and we learned how they shot some of the scenes, all of us were like, what? That's amazing. That is so cool. I can't wait to see what they do next. Now it's, the volume sucks. It looks like shit. Look how generic. I can see the fucking skyline horizon over there. When they do chase scenes, they just move the cameras around. You have Vader squirt out from one side of the stage to the next. It looks kind of stupid.
I just don't understand those people, because did you think that the volume was just like everybody's always excited for technological innovation, which is what the volume was until they realize
until it becomes the new thing.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, like you're doing this because it's easier to do than going to real locations. It's like, well, yeah, obviously. The reason that we built this is because we can more easily control the environments here and stuff like that. It may not, they even said it's like, it's not going to look as good as if you're on location, but this will be as close as we can get now to recreating real life locations in a controlled set. And that's what their goal was during the height of COVID.
Money is a powerful thing. Money is a powerful thing. If a company like Disney can say, hey, we can do this for 100 million versus 250 million, they're going to be like, okay, we'll deal with some of the critiques on the visuals. Sounds good to me. Order it up. I mean, it's just that's what it is. They can film these motherfucking things on the back lot in Hollywood now instead of flying to England or Tunisia. It's the natural progression of filmmaking. It's been happening ever since film and cinema became a thing. There's always going to be the next person, the next innovator that is going to invent something that is going to change the medium. And honestly, George Lucas should still get credit for the volume. That was more or less what he was doing with all those fucking green screens and blue screens. He just didn't have virtual reality and Unreal Engine 4 and 5 back in the late 90s and early 2000s. But this is what he was trying to tell everyone. That's why he made the fucking prequels. It was more of a tech demo than a love letter to Star Wars fans. He made those movies for himself and to show what he and ILM can do to push the medium of film forward. But George has been doing that since day one on fucking Star Wars. I mean, George is one of the most amazing humans to live during our lifetime. I mean, the guy invented our modern Greek tragedy that's going to live on for centuries, or at least until we fully eradicate ourselves, which is now looking like it might happen in my lifetime, which is crazy. I thought just my kids were going to suffer. But it's now looking like I am going to see the fall of possibly the United States, if not the entire world, before I die. But George has always, I think in my mind, been more of an innovator than a director. I mean, he's obviously has the imagination, and that's his biggest asset. His imagination led him to create Star Wars, but it also is what allowed him to push those fucking tech geeks at ILM back in the 70s to come up with some of the crazy shit that they invented to make the movies he had in his head. And while we're talking about ILM, just a reminder, everyone, next week, that documentary is going to drop on Disney Plus, and I think it's going to be fucking amazing. It's like the history of ILM and what they have done for the art of filmmaking, with a lot of it coming from George's mind. I mean, George didn't invent those techniques, but he was the one that had the idea, like, no, ships flying in space need to look like this. You motherfuckers, Phil Tippett, the rest of you, figure it out. And those guys in their 20s would sit around in the fucking garage in their, shorts and no shirt, drinking beer, eating pizza, and they just fuck around with explosions and miniatures. And look what we got. And then that moved into the whole CGI and green screen, and that has now morphed into the volume. But yeah, the volume's not going away. I don't know if Andor used it at all, but for those of you that are getting sick of the volume, that's another thing I think Andor may kind of cleanse your palate with, is its more traditional approach to its principal photography. So, yeah, we got some UK people in here, Nick. For the first time, they're feeling what climate change feels like. It's like, hey guys, you know, we feel for you, but this guy right here, I mean, he essentially lives in 100-degree weather every day.
Dude, it hasn't
outside.
Gotten below it. I mean, there hasn't been a day where it hasn't hit over 100 degrees in 3 weeks. So,
yeah,
I mean,
it's just,
and like that, it actually may be longer than that. Like my perception of time has gotten really messed up since.
Yeah, I mean, you
sick.
honestly look like you're on ayahuasca or something right now. Like you're
I mean, because it's, I'm barely hanging on energy wise, but like the reality of what's happened is that like I've had COVID for 12 days, but to me it has felt like this has been at least a month.
Yeah,
like
it can do that,
and. It's hot, but it's in Texas. Like it'll get to 106 degrees and like it's nothing. Like it.
Yeah,
106
not to, like
Fahrenheit,
we
not
get
Celsius.
it. Over in the UK, this hasn't happened since '76. But don't be like, oh, this is a record one. No, I mean this is going to be the new normal because we get that here now. I mean, I'm in fucking Ohio and I've had 100-degree weeks this summer. I mean, it just. Hello, let's burn this fucker down. I need to go out and buy a new diesel truck and another gas hog vehicle because it's not like I can drive anyways. Just let them sit in my driveway and just idle all day long to kind of keep fueling climate change. I love climate change. All right, so moving right along to a rumor, and this honestly it's a continuation of a rumor we talked about back in June for Making Star Wars, where he kind of dropped the knowledge that the Darth Vader team from Kenobi had been called back together, for another live-action series. And at the time, we're like, well, you know, what could it be? Could it be Ahsoka? Could it be Andor? Could it be Vader's own series? Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. But it's now sounding like it's 100% going to be for the Ahsoka series. According to MSW, his sources have told him that Tom O'Connell is being or has been fitted for a new Vader armor set for the Ahsoka series. His sources also told him that Darth Vader will have a significant sequence, notice the key word there, sequence, in the series. And here's the other thing. It sounds like Tom O'Connell will be the only super tall dude to don the suit this time, because apparently the Eastern Bloc guy, this Demetrius Bistrevsky, got into a bit of a public spat about pay, which usually equals, well, see ya, you don't have to work on Star Wars anymore. But that's it. So, I mean, all MSW is saying at this point is he's reporting with 100% confidence that Vader is going to be in the Ahsoka series. So now, Nick, our job is to figure out how. And it obviously has to be a flashback. I mean, that doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out. The question is, what is it going to be of? And I know everyone is immediately going to the duel. And listen, I don't think you're wrong. It makes sense because what would the duel do in live action? Well, it's going to bring in some Star Wars Rebels content and kind of expose non-Rebels fans to that era. Because if you think about it, if they go to the duel, a perfect part to pick it up would be right after she kind of knocks his helmet off and Ezra pops through the goddamn gate to save her. Because right there, you get an introduction of the Ezra character to the live-action audience, Ahsoka and Vader knowing each other and having a connection. So I'm with you. I a lot of you have been like, oh, it's going to be the fight, the duel. And I'm going, yeah, you know, it does make sense from a storytelling perspective. My question is, after what we saw in Kenobi, and we've already seen it in Rebels in animated form, do you think they go to the well a third time and show Vader getting his helmet cracked by someone that used to be important in his life?
I think that, honestly, I think that the better way to do it, and look, this only has to be a few seconds, and
right,
let's
because
be real.
It did say just a significant sequence, so it's not going to be like he can't be in every episode. He's fucking dead in that timeline. But it does sound like it is going to be more than just a few seconds, but it's also not going to be just a full episode of Vader. And I know you weren't here last week, but we dropped the news that Natasha Liu Bordizzo said that the Ahsoka series is going to have a standalone Star Wars Rebels chapter. We were thinking it's probably going to be like a catch-up chapter with, flashbacks sprinkled in. So this moment would probably fit in that standalone chapter if she is speaking the truth. But go ahead, back to the whole duel thing. Do you think that is overplayed?
The way that I would handle it is like, obviously it's going to be the, memory, flashback, dream, whatever it is. But I think that the significance of the scene is going to be more to show the world between worlds and Ezra than it is to show Vader. Because realistically, like, we already, it'll be cool to show Vader, and, the people who aren't aware of the Rebels timeline and what happened in that will be super excited about it. But really what you're trying to show is how the world between world works by Ezra popping through and saving her. And you're trying to show, perhaps the introduction to the live action version of Ezra. So the way that I see it happening is like you just see kind of like flashes of the battle, which is why you need O'Connell in there at all, because you're going to show at least like a few clashes of lightsabers with the helmet still intact. Then you'll like flash to later in the battle where she has already cut the helmet. I don't know if they need to show the cut helmet part again, but like where you see Hayden's face, in the helmet again, and then the moment where the rescue happens. So because if anything, that's how I think they'll handle it. All
right. And you said it better than I was saying it, but that's kind of what I meant and why I think they would use that duel, because it checks a lot of boxes for the narrative.
Yeah.
It gets the casual live action only audience kind of clued into Ahsoka's past a bit, to the Rebels faction, to Ezra himself, if they do choose to actually show it, and more importantly, the world between worlds, which I still think is going to be a main component of the Ahsoka series. I mean, the goddamn logo is framed in it. The letters are shaped like it. I mean, unless that's just complete misdirection, I'm pretty sure the WBW is going to play a role in the Ahsoka series. In fact, if anyone's watched the leaked trailer, which popped up again on the internet this week, kind of like the Mandalorian stuff's been doing, she goes to some sort of temple that could very well be another WBW portal. Because I believe the one from Rebels gets covered up in the end. Ezra ends up sinking it and preventing the Emperor from getting access to it. So yeah, I think that's probably the way to handle it. Just flashing to that duel, because you're going to get the emotion. Like, you could have her kind of doing a bleep, 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 flashing back, thinking about her former master in that very impactful moment where she finally does realize in her soul that, oh my God, I kind of had an idea, but yeah, this is Anakin. This is my former master. But I'm also with Bat in the chat and with some other chatter I've seen online. We don't need to see the fucking helmet crack again in live action. It's just, it would be overplayed. We got an iconic moment in live action with Vader getting his helmet cracked in Kenobi. Leave it at that. Leave the Rebels helmet crack as is. Let them kind of still have that moment to that series. And like Nick said, let's just kind of boom, boom, get those beats like Ahsoka. Yeah. You hear Ezra's voice pulling her out, because I believe he pulls her in just as Vader is either going to come down with a hard strike, or
so he's closing on her for sure.
Or Malachor. I mean, at that point, the Malachor temple is already starting to cave down. So even if she got away from Vader, she could have ended up getting smashed. But I kind of, I'm with you there. Now let's kind of take a different route. And I was thinking about this when I was sitting on my shower chair like a 90-year-old man spraying my balls off before the show. You know what it has just been severely lacking in live-action Star Wars? Is space battles, dogfights. In particular, with Darth Vader at the helm of his TIE Advanced. And I can think of a scene right from Rebels where I think the Ghosts, I think they're with Phoenix and Ahsoka's with them, but Vader shows up in his TIE Advance and essentially takes on an entire squadron of Rebel fighters and is just kicking the shit out of them, flying like an ace, doing spins like his younger self used to love to do. And Ahsoka is literally on the ship almost having a panic attack because she's like, my God, the energy radiating from this Imperial pilot it's so strong. It reminds me of, she almost has one of those, Vader on the Death Star moments. Like, I haven't sensed this presence since when he's just looking around. I would like to see something like that. I mean, let's go. Let's get some live action Vader in his goddamn ship waylaying Rebel fighters. We haven't really seen that since A New Hope. And that that was very rigid because of the technology at the time. I mean, outside the opening bits of Revenge of the Sith, I wouldn't even call that a space battle. They just kind of fly through and fight some fucking stupid buzz droids and shit. We haven't had a damn good Star Wars space battle since the fucking Trench Run, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think that I would definitely love to see it. I'm struggling to see a place where it would fit in here, unless she was like, I think that the opportunity for that lies in Andor. I think that there is a strong opportunity that if they were going to incorporate Vader, which is definitely in play for Andor, whether it's season 1 or season 2, that would fit really well there. If they go to a Kenobi season 2, I think it could fit well there as well. Obviously, the two of them probably wouldn't like Kenobi and Vader probably wouldn't have interaction anymore, but that doesn't mean that you still can't check in on Vader during a season 2 of Kenobi, see what he's up to. But yeah, unless the only way that I could see that really slotting into the Ahsoka series is obviously there's going to need to be exploration of the galaxy in some way, shape, or form if they're looking for Ezra. If that is a primary storyline within Ahsoka, you would imagine that her and Sabine are going to be flying around. And like if they do get into an area where they get into a dogfight with Imperial remnant soldiers, or if they something like that, and maybe you could flash to a scene like that where Ahsoka is remembering when that's that time during Rebels where Vader was doing his thing.
So I'm getting corrected from some of our diehards, and they're not wrong. Return of the Jedi, okay, that probably was a bigger space battle than A New Hope. The Battle of Scarif,
it didn't include Vader. I don't know if that's what you were angling at, like ones that included Vader as the pilot.
You're right, and I'm coming more from a framing it as a dogfight, like actually being in the cockpit listening to the pilots. We haven't really gotten much of that since A New Hope, with the bad guys, seeing the TIE fighters in their TIE fighters, chasing the good guys, listening to the chatter from, Red Squadron, Gold Squadron, seeing Vader, I have you now, with his little dials blowing shit up. That's what I'm talking about, my friends. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. Yes, the Rogue One space battles were visually impressive, but you didn't really get up close and personal with a ton of the fighters. And of course, there was no Darth Vader in his TIE Advance. He was hanging out on his Star Destroyer, and then once the dust settled, he got on his shuttle and rolled over to, was at the Radis, and fucked some shit up. So
I mean, you had the opening sequence too of TLJ that had some good space fighting and stuff like that, where you saw Kylo and his interceptor.
Right.
And but yeah, like we haven't really had a true focus on the dogfighting angle, which I assume is what the angle that Patty Jenkins was taking for Rogue Squadron.
Yeah,
but, who knows?
That movie, whenever that's coming out with the Kenobi movie and the Boba Fett movie at this point in time. Yeah, Rogue Squadron, so it's become the redheaded stepchild, and Tyka's will be the next. All right. Whatever. I probably didn't frame it correct. I'm talking like Darth Vader in space.
Yeah.
Along with pigs in space, and only old people will probably get that reference. Kylo. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. Everyone loves their They're space battles. That's all right. They all look good visually, but they didn't have that personal feel that we got in the A New Hope trench run when the Dark Lord of the fucking Sith is in his different-looking TIE fighter with only 2 wingmen taking out squadrons of rebels by himself until a drunken scoundrel shows up after partying, getting all his loot, and accidentally shoots his wingman, who bumps into Darth Vader to take him out and put him into a unescapable or inescapable barrel roll. So really all this is, Nick, is me wanting my Darth Vader series and just wanting to see moments from the comics play out. I mean, there's a moment in the recent comic run where dude takes on a squadron in space, blows them all up, goes down and lands, and then takes out like a battalion on the ground all by himself, like just fucking hanging out. Just it's just a normal day in the life of Darth Vader after he gets his limbs screwed back on. So I'm not taking anything away from everyone else's favorite space battles. I might cast a big net over that, but as I tried to reframe it, I was more talking about seeing Vader fight in space. Mm-hmm. And you are right, Nick, in terms of the Ahsoka series and how that moment from Rebels would tie in, it doesn't make as much sense as the Ahsoka Vader fight, but it did involve Ahsoka having emotions about thinking that, oh my God, this essence, this Force essence feels so familiar to me. I've seen someone be able to pilot like this before, but no, he's dead. It can't be. But again, I don't know how that they would cram that in unless she, like Obi-Wan, if she has nightmares about Darth Vader. But at this point, you would think she has moved beyond some of that. You know, I mean, we're talking, she's 7 years past Return of the Jedi. Some good things have happened. Some bad things have happened. Anakin had been redeemed. So you would think, like a lot of people, including his fucking kids, she, at the, where she's at in the Mandoverse timeline, she probably has come to grips with what happened with Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader and whatnot. So I do think the flashbacks will be more geared towards World Between Worlds, setting up the Rebels players and why they are important to Ahsoka. Because if you have not watched Rebels, Natasha Liu Bordizzo is like, hey, you know, you're not going to be completely in the dark. We are going to have a standalone Rebels episode to help catch some of you up. But clearly, you're going to get way more... the Ahsoka series is going to mean a lot more to you, and things are going to stand out much clearer if you have gone through Rebels. But to Nick's point, I think the flashbacks have to be meaningful to the story they're telling in Ahsoka, not so much she's this depressed person, because I don't think she is. I know Rosario told us last week, like, listen, Ahsoka's popped up in this modern timeline, but none of you have any idea what she's been through and who she is as a character. But I don't see her moping around in the Mandoverse timeline still regretting what happened with Anakin. She has to have had that closure like his son and daughter did after his death in Return of the Jedi. That's my philosophical take there. I'm playing a little psychologist, if you will, with fake science fiction characters. Mm. Yeah, Tone's got it. Vader down. That was the arc. He knows what I'm talking about. That's the shit I want to see.
You talked about it on the show.
Yeah, that stuff's fantastic.
I remember.
So there you go. I mean, we're still going to get Hayden, but he's not going to be in the suit unless they need to show his face. And I'm with Nick and a lot of you here in the live stream. We don't need that moment remade in live action. In fact, I'm leaning towards more what Nick is saying. Like, that moment is purely going to serve as a vehicle to introduce the players that are going to play a big role in the Ahsoka series in its main timeline. So we shall see. I'm excited for this one. I mean, 2023 is shaping up to maybe kick 2022's ass in terms of programming. I mean, we're going to start things off with The Mandalorian in February. And you would think Ahsoka's probably going to take Obi-Wan Kenobi's slot. Put it in the slot.
Yeah.
So, you know, I could see Ahsoka drop in May, June, something like that. And then Andor Season 2, hopefully they stick to its window. And maybe that comes out August of 23. But I don't even think they've done a lot of principle on Season 2 yet, Andor. So who knows?
Yeah.
Oh, Tones, we got an update here. I don't know where he got the report for, but this is coming in hot. This is coming in hot here. Andor is going to open with 2 episodes, according to Tones1138. So I trust the guy. I guess that's good news. I mean, I think that's probably a smart play on Disney's part because of how short these fucking episodes are. I think it served Kenobi well to do 1 and 2 because if it just ended at 1, him getting on a transport after moping around for 35 minutes, people probably been like, this series, blah. So I don't think that's a bad idea. It seems like Disney is adopting the Amazon Prime or the HBO Max delivery model on certain series where they'll give you 1 or 2 or 3 episodes and then it goes to the serialized episodic drops.
I like the serialized format better, honestly. Like, it just allows it keeps spoilers off the internet for those of you who don't binge, and it gives you something to look forward to. It's each week.
You know, people like us, we have the benefit of remembering life before binging and streaming and all that stuff. So I think we're more trained to wait. You know, good things come to those who wait. You know, a lot of old people have probably told you that in your life if you're a young one listening to this. But I'm with you because I am just finally getting into Stranger Things. I'm up through episode 7, so I got like the 2 slogs left. Yeah. But because I didn't fucking shove it down my eyeballs when it came out in May and June, I can't tell you how many times. I mean, I've already had certain things spoiled. It's inevitable, and I'm not one of these people that's going to be getting on a soapbox like, how dare you post spoilers for a show that's been out for 2 months? I get it. But Nick has a point. When these, you know, Netflix in particular, when it drops a series like that's as popular as Stranger Things, if you don't fucking eat it and just literally inject it into your eyeballs the first day or 2 it comes out, it's over. I mean, there's people whipping their wingers out, pissing spoilers out all over the internet. I mean, it's not like Kenobi where, you know, you give it a few days and it's like, all right, well, if you haven't watched the episode 3 days after, that's on you. I mean, you just don't care that much. But a series like Stranger Things takes some serious fucking hours to get through. I mean, season 4 is like 500 hours long. I mean, the last episode is longer than most feature-length films.
Yeah, the last episode is
2.5 hours long, man. I just watched episode 7, which was 1 hour 40, and it's great. Like, don't get me wrong. Stranger Things season 4 has been fucking tits. It's been the best season in my opinion from a storytelling standpoint. But my God, you have to dedicate some serious time. So I'm with you. It sucks to wait, but the wait does ultimately make the next episode inherently better. So I'm with you, but I think binge culture is here to stay, at least with Netflix series. The other ones seem to have pulled back and figured out like, hey, maybe we can trick people to sub longer if we don't just give them everything at once. I mean, Paramount Plus, they do it with all their series, so it really is just kind of Netflix at this point in time that's sticking with the here you go, check it out
all at once.
Yeah, because there's a lot of shit I want to watch. I mean, I need to catch up on the latest season of Umbrella Academy, For All Mankind. I just got into Severance on Apple TV Plus. That shit's deep as fuck. There's just so much, so little time. I guess I should stop watching Beat Bobby Flay as I sit in my basement all day long with my leg up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Props. Try to keep some of the Stranger Things spoilers out because I haven't had them all spoiled yet. But I'm with you, Props. I'd love to get an episode of Star Wars that's 1 hour and 38 minutes long, but we're lucky to get 50-minute episodes at this point in time. That ain't happening. That's their model is short TV. It's not even like traditional hour-long TV, which is, you know, usually 42 minutes without commercials. It's, oh, hey, 1 week you'll get 50 minutes, 1 week you'll get 30, the next week you'll get 43, and then maybe 28. And it's like, I don't know. It's just who decides where to cut these things, I'll never understand, but it's what we got. It's what we have to live with.
Yeah.
Sticking with the live-action Star Wars universe, which is pretty much the only Star Wars universe these days. This popped up in our Discord thanks to Scion. I didn't see it right away, but obviously, me being me, I check the internets every day. And this popped up on Reddit leaks. But according to some Spanish poster, it has the Book of Boba Fett scheduled for a season 2. And while I am not the most fluent in Spanish, I do have Google, and I checked all these words here. You know what I mean?
Coming soon,
yeah,
I believe.
Yeah, temporada 2 literally means season 2.
Season 2.
Muy pronto, as Nick said, is correct. Coming soon. Disponible ahora means available now.
Available
so,
now.
I mean, who knows where this came from or what someone did to it, if it has been mucked with. I doubt it. It's not like you can get a lot of cachet from this type of stuff, so I don't think anyone was trying to clout chase. But it does have the Book of Boba Fett on the same banner as Mando, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Andor. Everything looks pretty legit. Not that that's hard to fake these days on the internet, but what do you think, man? To me, it's like it's part of the Mandoverse, so why not? I mean, why not rotate it in and out just like Ahsoka? You know what I mean?
I mean, if it's highly likely that this is real. I would say I'll say that because, like you said, there's no reason to fake something like this, and I think that the whole purpose of this Star Wars TV experiment is to create a shared universe. So while season 1 may not have been everything that people wanted from it, like, it doesn't mean that people aren't excited to see where the character goes next, especially a character like Boba Fett. And especially when you have somebody like Tamira Morrison out there who's already said, like, yeah, I'm excited to see what happens if, when we continue. And, I want to see Boba Fett get back to a little bit of the old Boba Fett and stuff like that. So it's not surprising to me that there would be a season 2 of Book. The character is integral to the character of the Mandalorian at this point. Yeah. We've seen that in both season 2 of Mando and in season 1 of Book of Boba Fett. Like, these two characters seem to be kind of interlinked at this point. So it's just a good way to continue converging storylines within this universe. So I'm
yeah, I mean, it's like you're gonna get kind of the I don't want to say the same story, but you could have other pokers and other threads running alongside whatever main narrative the Book of Boba Fett season 2 aims to tell. Just like in Ahsoka, we're going to get a lot of stuff that's Ahsoka centric, but it's a good part of it is going to affect the Mandoverse timeline. And maybe not so much the Mandalorian himself, but it could be the Empire through Thrawn. Maybe some of the other Moffs get brought up in the Ahsoka series that could eventually bleed into the Mandalorian. And Nick's right. I mean, hell, John and Dave, I mean, if you go back to the behind the scenes of Boba Fett, Book of Boba, John says, I don't think this is verbatim, but he says, listen, we consider this the third chapter of the story we're telling in The Mandalorian. Like, the Book of Boba Fett is the third chapter. I know Mandalorian season 3 is coming, but from the creator, the guy that cooked all this shit up, Jon Favreau, he considered the Book of Boba Fett to be their third season of storytelling. He didn't pigeonhole it to The Mandalorian. He just said, this is the third season of our storytelling in this universe. Be it if the title says Mando, if it says Boba Fett, it all is interconnected, albeit you're going to get a bit stronger focus on the titular character, obviously. You're going to get a lot more Ahsoka in Ahsoka than you will in The Mandalorian. You're going to get a lot more Mando in Mando than you will in the Book of Boba Fett. But they all can be in each other's series, and they're all eventually, as we've been told, who knows if they change this, should be working towards some sort of Arrowverse-like crossover mega event at some point in time. So I know a lot of people are a little sour on the Book of Boba for this, that, and the other thing. I'm all for it if they're going to do it. I think they set it up to where you're not going to get benevolent Boba anymore, which should make a lot of the angry Boba bros happy. I think he probably would get a bit more ruthless, maybe not as hardcore as he was during the original trilogy, but even Tem himself was like, yeah, you know what, we probably went a little too soft. I'm ready to get a little more traditional Boba. So why not? As long as you're kind of pushing the ball forward and you're moving along the titular character's arc as well as the overarching arcs of the Mandoverse narrative, yay. Okay, let's go. Maybe not give it to Robert Rodriguez, but, you know, friends are friends, and I'm sure he'll stay an EP on the Book of Boba until they stop doing Book of Bobas. But maybe they'll take the feedback to heart and just leave him as a showrunner and not so much a director of episodes.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see how it plays out in terms of like the technical execution aspect, but I think it's important to have that around as a storytelling vehicle.
Yeah, so you're not going to jump off your roof because there could be a second season of Book of Boba, right?
Yeah. I also don't think that I would be that upset if Robert Rodriguez did it again either. Like, I don't care if he comes back and directs it. Like, what's important to me is like what the story being told is, and not as much, you know, I mean, and again, like if you go back and listen to the Boba Fett episodes, I did have some issues with the way the story was being told. I think they missed some opportunities with Boba's character and stuff like that. But I also don't think that like Robert Rodriguez can't take criticism and then make a better version for season 2. Right. Like, he's a professional filmmaker.
Exactly. I mean, he either is going to be like, whatever, fans are fans. I mean, look, fucking George Lucas had to deal with it too. He just was lucky that social media wasn't rampant by the time he got out of the game. Or trust me, we would be talking about all the people shitting on George Lucas at this point in time. It doesn't fail. There's always going to be sects of the fandom that just aren't happy about anything, and they're going to look to anyone to put the blame on. So yeah, I could care less. I mean, I think the story would definitely, I don't want to say be darker, maybe a little more hardcore. I don't see Boba going back to being a bounty hunter. He's tasted what it feels like to be a leader. I don't think he wants to work for anyone anymore. He very may well run his own guild or run his own operation or have his own clan. It could just be him and Fennec. But I don't think you're going to see him hanging out at the palace. I'm pretty sure he's going to give that shit over to Cobb Vanth and let Cobb become kind of the new daimyo of those cities on Tatooine. It just makes sense. I mean, Cobb is more of a leader, more of a protector, and Boba more or less says as the series wraps, this shit ain't for me. I'm glad I tried it out, but this shit ain't for me after all. So let's go fucking kill some bad guys.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll keep our ears to the ground on this. I would not be surprised if they do continue in it. And it, like I said, I think it would be continued more so for the Mandoverse and that project and all the interconnected series, more than just, we want another Boba series. At this point, anything John and Dave are touching, it's all comprehensive. It's all part of a plan that is going to lead to an end game, if you will. I am such a clever motherfucker with my words sometimes. Okay. Star Wars gamers out there, and not that this is anything new. It's not like we get new games on a regular basis, but there was one some of you may have been looking forward to, especially if you're into competitive arena shooters. And that was Star Wars Hunters. I believe one of our big fans, Scion, got to check this out at Celebration. I'm sure some of the rest of you that went to Celebration might have got to play it a bit. I really haven't heard bad things about it either. It just didn't stand out to me. It's not really my type of game. To me, Nick, is it safe to say Star Wars Hunters is more or less Overwatch Star Wars, maybe a little scaled down, not as many characters? Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine so. But probably not as many maps either.
Yeah. But I mean, it was arena-based, team-based, class-based. So, I mean, it had all those boxes checked. It had different game modes that weren't just all shooting. It had, escorting shit. It just, everything I read, and even the way it looks, it just felt very Overwatchy, which, quite frankly, would be awesome. Because Overwatch, when I was playing it, was one of the most fun competitive gaming experiences I've had as an adult, to where I'm not playing all the time to being good, but I could get in there and what was the guy? Who's the fucking guy with skates, Nick? He was a healer.
Lucio.
Yeah, Lucio. I could fire up my boy Lucio and actually feel like I was contributing because I could run around and heal motherfuckers and get some quick pot shots in. So I don't know. I could get behind Star Wars Hunters, but sadly, I'm not going to be doing it anytime soon. It was supposed to drop this year, but it has now been the worldwide launch. It has soft launch to some territories. I think the Aussies may even have it, which why they get it? Well, I thought
that is like Australia is a good testing ground for video games, because I've seen other studios that do soft launches in like Australia and New Zealand, because the population there generally mirrors from what I've heard, the population in Australia and New Zealand generally mirrors the taste of an American audience. So like they like the same types of things in terms of content for video games. But it's just such a smaller market that you can easily do like A/B tests with like updates and stuff like that and see how critical reception changes. So
yeah, speaking of,
it wouldn't surprise me if
speaking of Aussies, I gotta pull this up. Our one-time friend, I think he still listens here or there, but Hideous sent me this TikTok. Hold on, I gotta play the audio. I mean, I even flagged it on TikTok as like I need to keep this. And I don't know the backstory behind this, so if there's any Aussies listening, let me know. But the only caption on the video is Bogan Aussie Star Wars. So I'm assuming Bogan is like a dialect down in Australia. But here, just listen to this shit. It's Yoda talking to Sidious about Yoda hearing a rumor that Sidious, I think, has huge balls. But you really can't understand a word they're saying because of this Bogan Aussie, whatever the fuck the dialect is. So give me a second here.
This has been talked that your fucking nards are fucking huge. Yeah, they're pretty fucking big, cunt. And then, cunt, let's see how fucking huge they are. Then.
I can't understand anything that they're saying.
Well, there's captions. He starts with, "Oi, Darth Cuntius, there's been talk that your fucking nards are fucking huge." The best part is
I don't know if I caught any of that.
Oh, dude, and they've got like those big fucking goofy eyes and lips on like Yoda and Sidious. I don't know. The funny thing is, I was watching this when Charlie was kind of hanging out in the same room. She heard it and came over, and she was fucking cracking her ass up just because of the way Yoda and Sidious look. She wasn't quite getting that they're sitting there saying "fuck" and "knots" and "cunt."
Yeah.
But hey, if they're, like I said, any Aussies out there, what is Bogan? Bogan. Is it a dialect because it is funny as hell? You know what I'm fucking huge. Yeah. Yeah. All right, I'll stop. Okay. Yeah, if anyone wants to see that, I probably should. I think I shared it in the Discord. I don't know. Maybe people are like, this guy's an idiot, but I love idiotic content like that. That's why the internet is still worthwhile. But anyways, Hunters delayed to 2023. Its worldwide launch, that is. Supposed to release on Switch, iOS, and Android, which is a little suspect. Like, have you ever heard a game releasing to just those platforms and not like a PC version? Like, PC is almost always included.
Yeah, I think I mean, I don't know of any major releases that have only been for that 3. It almost feels like that this was just a mobile game. Like it was just going to be iOS and Android, and they figured out somehow that the development environment for Switch allows for like easy port. I don't want to call it porting. Yeah. It's like kind of porting over iOS and Android games easily to Switch. So if there is success on those platforms, though, it wouldn't surprise me if they did a release through PC.
It's weird
because I think that a game like that would be popular for PC.
I mean, I feel like, why is this not widely available on all platforms? I mean, to me, I don't think it's going to get there, but you know, I don't know if it's going to be full free to play, but it could very well be a Fortnite where people want to dive in and spend money on cosmetics and stupid shit. It just seems weird that it's limited to purely mobile devices at this point in time.
Yeah, it is a little weird, especially for something that it seems like they're trying to put a lot of like hype behind.
Yeah.
But it's hard to hype something when literally you can only play it on your phone or a Nintendo Switch. But
yeah, I mean, for you've got that, what is that, the backbone or whatever? I mean, I guess it could be somewhat tolerable using that device on your Android, right? You know, that sort of turns it into a little portable console, but
yeah, it turns it into like a handheld console. So.
But to me, this game just screams, you know, Steam Deck, right? I mean, we were talking about that earlier. This seems like a no-brainer to have on a platform like Steam Deck, but as you said, and as we explained earlier, money talks. So if it does kind of go on a bit of a tear, I could definitely see it showing up on more platforms in 2023 if it ever launches worldwide. So we shall see. We shall see. All right, our last topic before we get into the fan segment is actually dedicated to a fan from the community. Some of you have probably seen his work or even heard about his work on the Star Wars Time Show. I'm talking about Brian Hickey, an Irishman from the United Kingdom, who over the years has been recreating the original trilogy using Kenner figures and custom homemade dioramas. And I think this year, maybe a month ago, he finally finished a digital photo book that compiles all of this work, essentially retelling A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi in a single photo book using vintage Kenner figures to recreate the scenes. I mean, I know some people in the live stream probably know who I'm talking about. If you're new here, if you're just listening on the podcast only, you really want to check this out. Especially if you were if you're one of the older Star Wars fans like myself, born in the 70s, late 60s, 80s, you grew up collecting Kenner, watching the OT. It truly is a masterpiece from Brian Hickey here. Now, I have a few shots up on the screen now if you're on the live stream. But you can see what he did. I mean, the opening shot of A New Hope recreated. I mean that circle there, Nick, could very well be a potato. Like that's what I mean. That's the kind of stuff that Brian has incorporated. The shot of the AT-ATs on Hoth, I mean, just looks fantastic. We got a gallery here. I mean, look at Luke on Tatooine with the twin suns. It's masterful work with these figures that, quite frankly, weren't really intended to be very photogenic. I mean, these things have 4 points of articulation. Their shoulders, both their legs move at the hip, and their head turns. And if you're on the live stream now, looking at the shot I have pulled up of Palpatine's arrival on the Death Star, I mean, look at that. Look at all those little fucking Kenner stormtroopers and AT-AT drivers and scout troopers. Vader with his saber already coming out of his hand, because that's just how our fucking figures
that's
were.
Just how it is.
But it really is a thing of beauty. So I'll pull up the digital book just so everyone can kind of get a peek at it. I'll share the link in our Discord too for anyone that wants to check it out. But I'm sure Brian has it on his Instagram page. I believe it's at Brian the Hick on Instagram. But here is the digital magazine on issue, ISSUU. But as you can see, I'm just flipping through. We're at A New Hope right now. But it covers damn near every important scene from the movie with these toys to retell the film on each page. And it's just so kick-ass. I mean, as someone that did toy photography and hopes to do it again someday, as well as someone that has these figures, it truly is an amazing accomplishment that Brian Hickey had here. I mean, it really is. This is something like if Lucasfilm would let him print, I would buy in a heartbeat. I would love to have this as a coffee book. You know what I mean? A coffee table book. Do you
remember? Yeah, that would be cool as a book. But this reminds me a lot about, this was probably 8, 9 years ago, where Lucasfilm proper put together like the original trilogy movies based off of like fan submitted videos. So you had like
movie. Yes. Now I know what you're talking about. It's like everyone got a few minutes or a scene to recreate, and then
Yeah,
they
you get a
stitched it. Then they
scene,
stitched it all together to make a full movie.
And it was so cool because it was in such vastly different styles, because you would have some people who were like legit visual artists who were like making animations with vector art, and then you had other people who were doing like recreations of scenes in their backyards with like box forts and stuff like that, and they stitched them all together to make the movie. And like that level of ingenuity really reminds me of what Brian has done here. And it would be amazing to see it, like to see Lucasfilm and Disney like come out and officially support something like this. And
they never
really
will
get behind it.
I think even if Brian said, "Listen, you can have all the fucking money," they still wouldn't do it because they didn't do it. You know what I mean? It's like they didn't have the idea. But I've made it up to Empire Strikes Back on the live stream if you're scrolling through. But I mean, here's Luke in the Wampus cave, and you can see Brian, like cut out white cardboard to make the icicles and whatnot. It's just, I'm telling you, people, if you're not on the live stream, you're just listening to this, check him out at Brian the Hick on Instagram. I guarantee you the link to check out the issue is in his profile. It is something you have to behold yourself. Words do not do it justice. It's not just the Kenner figures standing there looking like lifeless pieces of plastic. They're full on scene recreations, full on. Like we're going through Hoth right now. He's got snow scenes set up. There's Luke in the back to tank I just flipped by. There's a scruffy looking nerf herder moment. Vader in his meditation chamber. It's just fantastic. So I told Brian, like, listen, man, I'll do you a solid. He reached out. He's like, hey, is it any way you can spread the word about this? I was like, I got you. People like you deserve to have your work kind of promoted. I understand what it's like when you kind of dump your life and soul into something, and then the internet or people don't take notice. The right people don't get a hold of it. It doesn't go viral. This is something that should go viral, in my opinion. So I put up a post on StarWarsTime.net. So again, if you're listening to the podcast only version here, you can find a link to the full book on issue, and it's well worth checking out. But like I said, I mean, if he ever gets clearance to print this, if I were him, I would just fucking go to an outfit like Chat Books. I use this for Mother's Day every year. It's fantastic. I order up a hardcover book of all of my daughter's pictures from her previous year of life, and they come on nice glossy pages. If I were him, I'd just fucking do it. Chatbooks isn't going to shoot you down. They're going to be like, oh, you want to print a fucking 400-page book of images? Sweet. Give us $500 and here you go. So, but who knows? It sounds like he's trying to do the right thing. But it's well worth checking out. Even if you're a young fan and you may look at this stuff or the Kenner toys and be like, my God, you dinosaurs had to play with this shit when we've got Hot Toys and Black Series now. It's worth checking out just to compare to the films to see what Brian Hickey accomplished here. It truly is some magic stuff for photography and toy photography in particular. So there you go. There's a little plug there.
Awesome.
Again, like I said, on StarWarsTime.net, we've got coverage. So if you're on the podcast version, you know where to find it. All right, dude.
Indeed.
It's time to kind of slide into this week's fan segment. We do it every week, as I always explain, just in case we do have new listeners. There actually were a few new ones in the live stream before YouTube decided to sabotage us and give us the no data error left and right as we began. But, why not? It's like watching a game show. You hear the rules every fucking episode. Well, you get it here too on the Star Wars Time Show. But our fan segment, it is here to stay. We do it every week, every show, every stream, every podcast episode. Hint, hint, podcast episode's the same as a stream. But there are two routes to join. The first is going to be the question of the week, which we do every Tuesday morning on Instagram at Star Wars Time Show. We'll throw it up in the stories. We'll throw it in our post grid. You just have to find it and dig through IG's ads and reels and this, that, and the other thing and leave a comment. Today, if you commented, you probably made the cut because apparently the question sucked and got buried and no one saw it. So, but usually we'll pick 5 or 6 responses and then we'll go through them, read through them on the show. And sometimes it can get quite entertaining to listen to Nick try to decipher some of the English you all throw at your keyboards or your touch screens when you provide a comment. The next way to get in the fan segment is the top 5, but we'll talk more about that after question of the week. So let's go ahead and get Slack up on the screen. There we go. Our question of the week is, do you want to see a Vader flashback in the Ahsoka series? Why or why not? I wonder why I asked that question. It's almost like I theme it to the show topics. All right, so we got one from Rippick Tan. He's always good for a story reply. And then Nick grabbed a block of typically
the only 5 responses that were
our
on
super
the
fans who we can always count on to reply. So thank you, Bat, SW Black Series Clips, and Mythos Boba. We speak your names. While I see the name, Nick, I know you don't like going on social media, but if you do anything today that requires you looking at Instagram, go check out the latest stop motion short from SW_Black_Series_Clips. It's fantastic. It's a dance off between Mandos and battle droids, and it's just supreme. Excellent. I did a little reel reaction to it. That's like my thing now. I remix reels and provide reactions, and some people say they're great. Other people have said, why don't you just share their work? We don't care about your reaction. To which I replied, hey, fuckface, the creator literally said, thank you for remixing this. So that should be a lesson to you idiot trolls out there. Just keep your fucking mouth shut. You know? If you didn't create something, don't worry about it. Because guess what? Once something gets put on social media, all rights go out the fucking window, friends. Right? You no longer own shit if you post a video to Instagram. Read the fine print. And if they leave remix enabled, I'm going to remix the shit. Okay? Some of you need to take a deep breath and get the fuck off your social media because you're nuts. All right? Nick, would you ever go through social media and find like a remix reaction where you see someone's fat egghead shape like mine, not even talking, just making faces, that's something that someone created and allowed to be remixed? Would you ever take the effort to say, you should, we don't care about your reaction, we just want to see the actual video? Like, who does that stuff, honestly? Who has time to go around and be negative and leave troll comments on social media? Apparently a lot of people. I just don't get it.
I don't have the desire to interact on social media, even in a regular, like I guess you'd say like non-inflammatory fashion. So I'm not just going to go to social media to aggravate somebody who did what the functionality allows them to do.
That's my point. It's like, hey guy, you know what? Clearly your life sucks, and this gives you, I guess, some form of therapy. I don't know, but you don't know what the fuck's going on. None of us know anything about anything that's going on. So you're always usually better just keeping your fucking mouth shut. Because it was funny, because I actually went to the guy, the guy is 16J. He did a reel of a kick-ass 1/6 scale battle damage Vader that I reacted to. And immediately Jay's like, dude, thank you. I want to see what people are looking like when they look at this shit. I was like, hey, no problem, man. I mean, it was fucking no skin off my back. I just hit remix and my dumb face stares at the screen. That's it. And then this guy, later on the day, he's coming in like, no one cares about you. I'm like, yeah, I know no one cares about me, but the fucking creator sure did. So shut the fuck up! All right, question of the week. First response is coming from our man, Rippick Tan, who I also think is in our second avenue to fame of the fandom segment on SWTS. But first,
he's a double dipper.
Here's what Rippick had to say. If Ahsoka was talking about her experience with the World Between Worlds and they dropped the flashback that way, it would be pretty cool. But I think I'd be more excited to see some General Skywalker flashbacks with Ahsoka. Give us some live action Ahsoka Anakin chemistry.
Yeah.
It's really nothing to pick apart here. Very well said statement.
No, I think it's good.
Yeah, we can agree with it on all fronts. I think Nick made that point earlier. If it is going to be the duel, It would only make sense narratively to the Ahsoka series if it focuses on the whole world between worlds aspect of the duel. And that's kind of where Rippick was coming from. And all of us want to see Hayden refer to Ahsoka as Snips in live action. I know they did it at Celebration. It was cute and all that stuff. It was Eckstein and Hayden, yada, yada, yada. But we want to see it in real life. I'm assuming they're like going to de-age and shrink Rosario unless they truly did find a younger actress to play a true teenage Snips. Who knows?
Yeah.
I'd be fine either way. I'd be fine if it's just Rosario like they did Hayden in the prequels flashback for like, yeah, fuck you. We're not de-aging shit. We're just we're just gonna say Anakin went out and drank a lot of fucking spotchka the night before and had a few death sticks from that sleaze bago guy down by wherever that was on Coruscant. But yeah, I listen, I always like seeing Vader, so I'm not gonna complain getting Vader and Ahsoka. But we saw how rad it was to see Hayden Christensen as Anakin again. So I'm with Rippick here. I would love to see the General Anakin with the fucking armor and the cape hanging out with the maroon suit wearing Ahsoka. That would definitely be choice. All right. I
agree.
Nick, to the block. To the block of replies.
To the block. Yes, first off in the block is, like you mentioned, Matt, you were talking about SW Black Stories clips. He is here first in the block. He was the first No, actually, he was the last respondent on it because the first gets shown at the bottom. But he says, absolutely. But does that mean a flashback or a new time gate interaction with Vader? Curious how they'll be using the gates in this show. That is something that we haven't talked about, is the possibility of her using the world between worlds to somehow interact with Vader in the past. That would be a very dangerous course of action to take. But
I think we've lightly touched on this subject before when we talked about how the WBW seems inevitable for Ahsoka. And yeah, I don't want to get all fucking timeline goofy. You know what I mean? Like, leave that to Marvel and DC and all that shit. I still think the way it was used in Rebels was about as much as I would want to see that stuff used, to where we had already seen Ahsoka survive. We just didn't know how. And then 2 seasons down the road, we saw the how through the WBW. So that I like that kind of time travel where you already know the outcome, you just don't know how we got there. So I know it's still time travel, but it didn't really seem like traditional time travel. Does that make sense? Yeah. I mean, they more or less show us that without Ezra going back in time, Ahsoka would have died.
Been dead. Yeah, she was dead. Yeah, I mean, I think like the best comparison of timeline, of time travel to this, I think, is actually Terminator. Because it works in similar ways.
I'm with you. That makes sense. Yeah, I don't want anything crazy where it's like where it almost gets into what if territory. Like, hey, if she goes back and steps on Vader's boot, he thinks this, and then this happens, and he steps on a space slug, and then the space slug eats the Emperor.
Because then you get into like fucking Back to the Future territory where like you have like rippling time effects throughout. Shit actually affects the future.
Yeah, like Ahsoka's hand starts to disappear in the Mando timeline because of some shit Ezra's doing in the WBW. I got you. All right.
Yeah. All right. 2797_studios, good friend of the show, says, does a bear shit in the woods? Of course we want more Vader, but I'm also hoping for Anakin Ahsoka flashbacks, maybe even a Force Ghost appearance. Either way, give me more. Agree on all fronts here. I'm not 100% sure if a bear shits in the woods. I assume they have to if they live in the woods, but there are some bears who don't live in the woods.
That is a fantastic saying, though. That is one I like to use too. Great. Just like, does a hobby horse have a wooden dick? How's that one? You like that one?
I've never heard that before in my life.
Well, there's a new one for people if you haven't heard that one. But yeah,
yes.
Does a bear shit in the woods is a classic.
Yeah, it is. But yes, I definitely agree with 2797 on the Anakin Ahsoka flashbacks, and then even potentially some some Force Ghost appearances. Mythos Boba up next. He says, I take Vader, but I really want those Anakin and Ahsoka Clone Wars vibes. If we see those flashbacks, I'll lose my mind. So it seems like the general feel so far is they actually want more Anakin Ahsoka than Vader Ahsoka, which makes a lot of sense.
That is because I think some of these guys are more my age, and you'd think they'd go for more of the OT, but narratively, I do think it makes more sense in the Ahsoka series if she is going to reflect. It would be with Anakin and not the fucking dude
not with
in the suit.
Vader.
Yeah.
Yeah, considering the limited interaction. And I also, I don't know, I could be wrong in remembering on this, and we don't have to talk about it too much, but I think that they said that Anakin or that Hayden was slotted to be in Ahsoka, and we had the assumption that it was going to be as Anakin.
Oh, yeah. I mean, dude, I think that rumor is going on a year and a half old. I mean, that's when Rosario was like, oh, yeah, well, they're hey, Sky Guy, and she didn't even know. She was just responding to some fucking internet rumor.
Yeah, exactly.
So I do. I mean, I honestly think the Vader, which, MSW, his track record's pretty impeccable. So Vader's going to be in Ahsoka. That's not going to be Hayden. That's going to be Tom, unless they do show the face, which I hope they don't. Leave that moment for Kenobi, and leave the animated face moment for Rebels. We don't really need that. Again, Mythos Boba, real quick. I want to give him a shout out too. He sent over a fantastic wired cape for the Black Series Ahsoka figure. Because he is a customizer, makes fine goods, prints shit out. So just want to give him a plug over at Ironheart Customs on Instagram. Hooking me up. All the way from the UK, sent it over, and just absolutely impeccable packaging. Man, I mean, he prints out his own card with Mythos Boba logos, and he gives you a checklist on how to properly care for the cape and wear it and pose it. It was very impressive. And like I said, sent it free of charge, which you didn't have to do. I was willing to pay, but we speak your name. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Ironheart Customs, check them out. They do some cool 3D shit, 3D printing, but a lot of it is the fine goods, like the soft goods that you'd want for your figures that you're not going to get right out of the box.
Yes, indeed. All right. Next up, Marcus Andreas Hellman says the world needs more Vader flashbacks everywhere. So he's all in.
I'm glad you figured that out, because I was reading this as Marcus and Reshellman.
Yeah. I honestly, when I pulled it, my brain kind of went to the same place, but I looked at that name probably 4 or 5 times before I read it, and then I finally was able to break it out into its individual
I think you nailed
pieces.
it, but I was about ready to spit out Marcus and Reshellman. What the fuck is that? But
what's a Reshellman?
You got it. Yes. You got it.
Marcus Andreas Hellman, thank you for your response. He wants to see more of those Vader flashbacks. And then SWBS_adventures says, yes, I want it because it's always amazing to see Vader in action. It is always amazing to see Vader in action. There have not been more
true words typed out in the question of the week responses than that right there. We just got an update from Bat. It sounds like 2797 Studios on IG may start carrying some of Ironheart's 3D prints, because I know he's got the Bo-Katan thrown out there. So don't forget about 2797 Studios either. They're the 3D printer guys out there. They carry Landspeeder Luke files. They can get the shit done and shipped over quick, just like those kick-ass little scaled out Carbonites he sent over for my kids' Mission Fleet Razor Crest and my big boy Razor Crest. So, hey, we love getting showered with gifts here at the Star Wars Time Show. I'm not going to be bashful about that. You guys want to send shit for free to me? Slide into the DMs and you'll get the address. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, there you go.
All right,
and you'll get a plug on the show for sure.
There you go.
So.
And I think I added us to Amazon and another network, dude, and we gained 500 plus listeners a week. So hopefully,
there you go.
Hopefully we haven't scared them away yet, and we're right back down to our minus 500
our standard
by fall. But
I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't even know that Amazon had a podcast network, but it's not surprising that they do.
Me neither. I added us to Amazon and Podchaser. So literally at this point in time, we're on There isn't a fucking podcast network that we're not on. And if we're not on it, like I usually say, it's probably not that good. So get with the program and either get Spotify or iTunes or Google or Stitcher. And always leave a rating and review. Those of you in the live stream right now, don't forget thumbs up on the live stream. Drop a comment. Do what you got to do. It. Every little bit helps. All right, Nick, so now we're going to move back to the second phase of the fan segment, which we call our Top 5 Fan Artist Features of the Week. So the way this happens throughout the week, those on Instagram that consider themselves Star Wars artists of any kind, tattoos, toy photography, model making, it doesn't matter. Tag us. You have to tag us now, sadly. I hate to just kind of open up that floodgate, but the way Instagram treats hashtags now, especially for accounts that use the same hashtag a lot, it's seeming to shadow ban a lot of people that use it, so I don't see your shots. And I need to see your shots to feature them. So on Mondays, Nick can sit down, grab his whiskey, his stogie, and go through all of the weekly features to pick the top 5, which is where we are at right now. So Nick looked at all the shots featured on @Star Wars Time Show from 7/11 to 7/18 and whittled them down to the 5 shots we're about to talk about. So don't forget, tag us @Star Wars Time Show, like literally add tag, not just @Star Wars Time Show, and feel free to still use the hashtag. All right, Nick, who is up first in this week's honorees here?
The first up this week is @Grande _ again Giove, GRANDE _ GIOVE, and it's just a fun, like I like the comedic takes on Star Wars, and this one is a fun little shot here that we see of stormtroopers attempting to fly a kite, but then as they do with everything else, they somehow screw that up, and you see Darth Vader over there with his hands raised in the air, probably yelling at these guys like, how the fuck did you mess up flying a kite? And it's just a funny scene overall from Grande Giove. So
yeah, I'm with you, man. I kind of had a feeling you would go with this one, and I think we had a few kind of creative, silly shots this past week, and I really am drawn to them. I mean, I love the more serious stuff, and the Sir Dork explosion stuff, or the work more or less really fine crafted scenes. The oh my god, you should see what Black Series did. He did this poster. I guess he's linked up with LA Galaxy through this Rexing Around character who's like a Star Wars fan that people actually pay attention to, and he got himself in the Kenobi, which, ultimately I would love to do that one day. It's never going to happen, but one day I'd like to be Rexing Around. But anyways, Rexing Around got Black Series mixed up with the LA Galaxy for, I guess they're doing a Star Wars night, and he made a fucking soccer poster with stormtroopers decked out in LA Galaxy gear, like doing a bicycle kick into a net he fashioned out of whatever random shit he had laying around the house, but just fantastic shit. But anyways, not to steal the spotlight from Grande _ Giove, this too is, as you said, a fantastic just kind of Star Wars humor shot, and it perfectly encapsulates stormtroopers as bozos. And, either Vader, did you take it as Vader is throwing him up there with the Force, or is Vader just going, oh, I'm with these fucking idiots again, and of course they screwed up my day out in the park?
Yeah, I didn't take the Force angle, but that could be like, maybe there's like no wind and he's like controlling the
I like the
kite with the Force.
I like the two guys over on the tree where he's getting like a piggyback to try and get the dude that's floating away on this little tiny unicorn kite. It's just, I like seeing, especially the Empire, put in kind of hijinks type of situations like this. So if you're on the podcast only, make sure to check out StarWarsTime.net, this week's top 5, to see the image, because it is a fun one. All right, moving on.
Indeed. All right. Ooh. Next up is @Lionworks on Instagram. You mentioned some other fun shots. I thought this one was extremely fun. So what we see here is Mr. Mando all dressed up in his gear, and he's playing a big size chess with little Grogu, but Grogu is so little that he's the exact same size as the pieces, and it almost looks like Grogu is standing in as a chess piece.
He's like a fucking pawn himself.
Yeah, he's like
Now
standing
think of it.
on
Like
the.
I'm sure you've been somewhere where there's large chessboards like in a park that you can grab pieces and kind of move them around. So that's what At Lion Works is recreating here, albeit with Hot Toys Mando and Hot Toys Grogu, and it really does just it looks like a wholesome scene. We've featured and talked about a lot of At Lion Works's kind of Star Wars and real life shots. I mean, he had the one where they got their own Razor Crest toy and they're playing with, and I think he did, or was that Jason Work More or Less did the one where he made it out of like fucking toilet rolls for Grogu, made like a Razor Crest out of paper towel rolls. But it's just fantastic. It works so well. I know it's completely out of in-universe, but there is a part of me, it's like, no, I could actually see these guys doing this in between, hopping planets and the new N1. I don't know. It just works. It shouldn't work, but it works. And that's because of the staging and obviously the execution of the shot.
Definitely. So At Lion Works on the IG. Amazing work on that.
Yeah, and that's Lyon Lion,
yes,
not your traditional.
Yes, LYONWORX.
I'm glad you grabbed this next one too. Go ahead and introduce it.
This next one is some really incredible stuff here. It's from Rafael Nizolek, I'll say,
not
71.
Bad.
RAFALNIZIOLEK 71. And
it's not as clear as Grief Cardboard. Matt, that's still one of our favorite, but I think you got it out.
Indeed. Pretty close. I tried. But what Rafael has done here is an amazing silhouetted shot
that's it right
of
there.
an X-Wing, that's our, docked X-Wing, with an incredible orange and red sky background with the pilot standing next to it, either about to board it or just doing kind of an inspection. And this really gave me like Top Gun vibes.
Oh, yeah, I was just about to say, isn't this very? It resembles something that's either featured in Top Gun or, as you said, it just has that Top Gun feel. I mean, that looks like a Maverick. That looks like a true Top Gun out there eyeing up his war machine and almost having a sexual appreciation for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's an intimate
there you go. That's a better word than sexual.
Yeah, there's definitely an intimate bond between this person's craft and the person. So
that's why we have you here. You're the adult in the room, because I'm sitting here like, oh yeah, he's probably going to go up to the gas tank and stick his penis in it or something. So
so not quite that. But definitely, it
is, man. It's 100% the silhouette. That is what makes this shot pop, and obviously that very stark, vibrant, almost blood moon orange sky. But I just love it. I mean, it looks like a simple setup. I'm assuming this is either in front of a screen or dude's got this is like up above the cloud. So this probably is a digirama. But either way, it's fucking perfect. Like, it just silhouettes so well. I'm assuming Rafael Nizolek 71 probably just dropped all forms of light outside of the digital background and took the shot and got this fantastic silhouette.
Indeed. Yeah. Incredible work. At Rafael Nizolek 71 on Instagram. Make sure to go give them a follow. Next up, you mentioned it when we were talking about the question of the week, and he has popped up again at Rippic__tan with an excellent shot of Boba Fett tracking the movements of the Millennium Falcon as the Falcon makes his way out of a cave somewhere in the galaxy. Like, I don't know. I'm assuming that this is taking place sometime in the original trilogy timeline, and maybe Boba Fett was on Yavin 4 and we didn't know. Maybe he's tracking the movements of the Falcon in and out of the Yavin 4 base. From
Boba
the
Fett has
Temple.
a hard on for Han Solo. Let's be real. I mean, he may even have like some gay love for him. So it makes sense that Boba would be tracking Han and Chewie. It's just kind of his thing. But I mean, this is honestly, I'm just going to go right to Ripik's profile because this is a diorama he's built that has been getting some great use with outdoor shots and getting that natural lighting to bleed through with the atmosphere aerosol to kind of highlight the haze there. But that shot's fantastic. But there's one other with the Falcon that I just have to pull up. Here it is. I think it was the second one he shared after that. And it's the Falcon being pursued by TIEs and kind of getting shot at. And again, it's a fucking brilliant looking Star Wars ship shot. Not a lot of toy photographers do ship photography, but when it's done like this, there's some of the most engaging looking shots out there. It just, they feel so alive. I mean, I know they're just sitting on fucking probably toothpicks or wires and they're static, but the way Ripik shoots these, they have a feeling of action. There is that feeling of oh shit. We're looking at one snap of a dogfight between the Empire's TIE fighters and of course the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah. I mean, Ripik does a great job with the Falcon in general. I know that his profile picture is also of the Falcon, this excellent shot he took of the Falcon. So it seems like if there is one muse that he has in Star Wars that he always gets incredible shots of, it's definitely the Falcon. So this is another example.
Nick, I believe these things are tiny. I think these are either the Hot Wheels or the Mission Fleet thing. So I mean that Falcon might be, I don't know, maybe an inch, 2 inches tops in diameter, probably smaller than that.
Wow.
So the shot you picked, that's the other thing there. I mean, the forced perspective Ripik uses is, I think, what really sells the shot. Kind of having Boba all the way in the foreground but blurred out allows that little tiny Falcon to actually feel and look like it is the actual Falcon. So indeed. Good work there, Ripik. Way to go, pal.
There you go. At Ripik __tan. And then the last one this week is from at task.force_99, Task Force 99 on Instagram, and it is a shot of the Grand Inquisitor himself with full blade out, whooshing action, and it's a Lego shot too. So it is a Lego minifigure of the Grand Inquisitor with his lightsaber fully ignited and in motion. I don't know if this is one of those custom minifigs from it's like Firestar Toys or something, or if this is the one that comes with the Inquisitor shuttle that released. I believe it's out there from the Kenobi series. But yeah, either way, Task Force 99 is compelling me to get this minifigure. I don't shoot much of anything these days, and I've never shot Lego, but I do like Lego sets, and I love minifigures. They've almost become kind of like my new odd looking collectibles. You know what I mean? They're not full on chibi like I used to go with the Funko Pops and the Egg Attacks, but they kind of live in that family to me. You know, they look a little cartoony, a little elongated, you know, heads are a little bigger than they probably need to be. But yeah, this Grand Inquisitor Lego minifig just looks fantastic. And I can always appreciate a photographer that can take one of these things, which again, are like this big. I mean, about Aries. Yeah, that's. I mean, not that anyone can see what I'm doing with my fingers on the radio, but you know, they're about 2 times the size of my own member, so they're not that big. But when you do like a close up like Task Force here, I mean that's impressive to capture these details and just kind of sell the shot with just a minifig, and that's exactly what Task Force _99 does here with the Grand Inquisitor and his stabbed up tummy. Indeed. So incredible stuff at task.force_99. That is the end of the top 5, and that is the end of the show. So, Matt, why don't you bring us to our close?
You got it, my friend. Well, hey, we did the 2 hours this time, so I don't want to hear any bitching and moaning from you fans out there. Sorry about the rocky start to YouTube, but I can tell you that today, probably for the first time ever in the history of the Star Wars Time Show live stream, it was not our fault. Our tech was humming today. In fact, I hate to even speak this into existence, but Nick didn't fucking freeze once. Yeah! Who knows what that was? Maybe he gave his computer COVID and it's like, all right, pal, you win. I will no longer time out your Skype feed. So that was pretty impressive. No drop Nick, but the first part of the show, it was chaotic. So thanks to those of you that stuck around. Remember, you can join into the live stream every Tuesday, 2:30 p. Eastern time on YouTube, youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show. Sorry, props, we got to go. The old leg is starting to hum a little bit. It's gotten a lot better. I'm telling you, I'm almost 6 weeks beyond the trauma. But I can really start to feel how dead the leg is. Like the muscles just all atrophied out. The joint gets incredibly stiff. And right now I feel like my hamstring is going to tear itself because I've kept the thing straight and flat the whole time. But as Nick said, we've come to the end of the show. Appreciate any of the new listeners that showed up today in the live stream. And of course, we love all you diehards that showed up in the live stream. Don't forget to give the feed right now a like if you're still here and listening, and tell a friend, because that's what we do at the end of the show. It's show and tell time. We have given you all the show. Now you have to go tell about it to the rest of your family, your pets. You never know who could become the next big-time Star Wars Time Show fan. So if you are going to get out and stump for the show today, don't forget, StarWarsTime.net is probably your best resource to let noobs know how to get in the know with the Star Wars Time Show, because there truly is always time for Star Wars time. I live it, I breathe it, and one day it will kill me. But it'll be worth it. Oh, kind of a quick, cool little story before we close out. Our man Cody Tweedy, the tattooer, generously offered to tattoo yours truly for free.
Yeah, wow, there you go. There's no better entry. There's no easier way to get in. I know,
dude, it's rough. If we can cross paths. I mean, he is out in, I believe, South Dakota. So I don't know if I'm going to, take a trip out there, or if he hits the convention scene and I guess that's something tattoo artists do a lot to kind of get their name out there. And he's somewhere in the Midwest. I'm probably going to take him up on it, because the dude, if you look at Cody Tweedy on Instagram, he is a fantastic tattoo artist, and he definitely specializes in Star Wars. I mean, he's banged out some killer Maul portraits over the past week, some killer ass Ahsoka portraits over the past week. And if I am ever going to get a tattoo, I know it's going to be Star Wars based. I want it to be from a guy like that. So maybe I'll get my atrophied dead leg ass on a plane someday and get out there to South Dakota. All right. You know the drill, everyone. There's always time for Star Wars Time. Direct them to StarWarsTime.net to get the podcast feeds, to get looped in with YouTube so they can sub very easily. All the information is contained there. We love you all. Keep spreading the good word. If you are new here, hopefully you enjoyed the show and you'll come back and maybe you'll bring a friend. You never know. Today was kind of tame. Next week, Nick and I could be screaming at each other, or I could be screaming at one of you. You just never know on the Star Wars Time Show. That's why you need to get subbed up. And besides, as the long-timers know and the diehards live by, if you do listen to the Star Wars Time Show, the Force will be with you always.